U-boats.
All right, folks, here we go. Wow. So we are very close to the beginning of what I am calling the retrial of the century. Not the trial of the century, but the retrial of the century. I've never seen a retrial with this much buildup, this much hype, and an increase in awareness, an increase in interest, and an increase in intensity inside the courtroom, outside the courthouse, and of course on social media. I'm talking about the Karen Reed case. Karen Reed, the college professor, she worked in finance. Then she started teaching at the school where her father was teaching, and was dating John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer, great guy, served his community, adopted his sister's children when his sister and his brother-in-law died within months of one another, raised those kids, and then he lost his life. He was found on the front lawn of a fellow officer. Prosecutors believe it was his girlfriend, Karen Reed, but Karen Reed and her defense team are pointing the fingers right back at the people who were inside that house, including members of law enforcement. They believe that they are responsible for what happened to John O'Keefe, and they believe that they framed Karen Reed. So there's a lot to get to, but what I want to talk about today is a huge victory scored by Karen Reed and her defense team just before the beginning of this retrial. Something happened. You may have heard of what happened, but I don't know if you know exactly how huge this is. But I'll give you the headline. One of the jurors from the first trial, which was deadlocked, was a lawyer. Now, she was not a deliberating juror. She ended up being an alternate, but she was in that box with the jurors day in and day out for months last year. And she has now joined Karen Reed's defense team. This doesn't happen. This is another twist and turn in a case that has had so many twists and turns. I'm Vinnie Politan. Next to me here is Al Wunsch III. Great to see you, Al.
Great to be here, Vin. Viva la Tangenistas.
And also with us, he is the radio legend, Jonesy.
How are you?
And this is the Tangent Podcast.
Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Vinny has eyes, out cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill Gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast.
All right, welcome to the True Crime Podcast, folks. Great to have you aboard. Al, I've got to get to a comment real fast before we get into it here. Rachel, Vinny's eyes looking extra blue today, and I just wanted to point out why. I increased, I think we went from a 720 to 1080. I changed the settings for our broadcast. I don't know why it was what it was before, but I increased the resolution, and I think it'll apply to all of us. So I think we're seeing a crisper Al and a cleaner Jonesy. How about that?
Ooh.
So just adding something special today. So this is Al.
Yes.
Have you ever seen anything like this? Heard anything like this, where a juror from the first trial that ends up hung ends up joining the defense team in the retrial?
Well, I have to preface that comment with the fact, before I comment, with the fact that in New Jersey, in the state courts, we are not allowed to speak to the jurors. Even when the trial is over, we're not allowed to speak with the jurors. We have very strict rules. We don't even do our own voir dire. We give questions to the judge, and the judge asks those questions. So there is no direct contact between me and the jurors. If I see a juror on an elevator and I'm going up to the courtroom, I'm not allowed to even say good morning. Okay. Anything that is going to be taken as some sort of a gratuitous comment or something along those
How about
lines.
a little? Or
Well, yeah, I'm never against, like, putting the old 50 in the palm and going, keep it fair, like that type of thing.
nudge, wink, wink. Know what I mean? Know what I mean?
That's
Say
right.
no
But
more. Say no more.
the judges actually will advise the jurors that if you see the attorneys in the in the hallway or the elevator or in the cafeteria, they're not being rude. Okay, they're not allowed to talk. So the thought of putting on a juror, even an alternate juror, onto my defense team is just, I've never heard of it. It would never happen in New Jersey. It wouldn't be allowed to happen in New Jersey.
Why would it be allowed to happen in New Jersey if the juror reached out to you? The jurors can't reach out to you after the trial?
We're not allowed to have conversations with them. And
After
you know what,
the trial, if they reach out to
no,
you?
even after the trial, Vinny, you know what? We've had that situation come up. And I tell them politely, I said, listen, I really appreciate that. Thank you. I really can't talk.
I can't go out with you, ma'am.
Or sir. I mean, I have that kind of body that can excite both sexes. But
I mean that's what I was thinking. What if, like, it's a lady and she's the one? I mean, and you meet her someplace down the line, you can't talk to her?
You don't want to look at your license in New Jersey is once you lose it, you don't get it back. Okay. So there's no reason to put yourself into that kind of a position.
Love won't hurt anymore.
In this case, this woman is an attorney. Okay. Never did criminal work before. That's probably why she was able to sit on this jury at that time. And then she was an alternate. I heard that she was very, very upset that she was not, that she was picked as an alternate, which I can understand because you're sitting there for 3 months.
I was an alternate in my trial, and I wanted to get in there and roll up my sleeves and wrestle with the other jurors and kind of like what I do to Al every week. Boing, boing. Hey, by the way, this is important because before she became a member of the defense team, she spoke to gave a statement to WBZ TV up in Boston. And I have that statement for you. Here's what she said. Okay. So this gives us sort of a thumbnail of her thinking. I was a fair-minded juror who left this trial questioning the integrity of the system long before the defense filed a motion to dismiss with allegations of jury tampering. Now, this was during the course of when some of these motions were heard, and she was reacting to it. It is the Reed case itself and the fact that it is still being brought that has left many in Massachusetts wary, distrustful, and scared of our system. As a lawyer, this really saddens me even more because I remember how much faith I had in our system as an optimistic law student. How about that? Mr. Brennan, who is the special prosecutor, made an impassioned argument today regarding and it wasn't today, it was back in March, early March, regarding his alleged concern that some might be questioning the fabric of our entire judicial system. Don't you even care? Don't you even care? If he truly
did not have to die. Sorry, that's from And Justice for All.
If he truly would like to address that problem, I have a few suggestions. Perhaps, and now she's going after the DA. Take a listen to this. Perhaps the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office should be more focused on remedying the systematic issues plaguing it and affiliated police departments rather than continuing to spend millions of taxpayer dollars prosecuting a case with so many evidentiary issues that it calls into question whether they are even following their ethical obligations as prosecutors.
Harsh.
The Commonwealth has a duty, she said duty, to protect the rights of defendants, and I, for one, would love to see them do so.
That's pretty harsh. Let me ask you guys this question. If she were on the team at that point, could she have made that kind of statement? Is that prudent for a lawyer to make such a statement?
Statement since the beginning of this trial.
Yeah.
No, but there's a gag. If she was on the team, she couldn't make that statement.
Well, but I
There's a
mean, it
gag
doesn't
right
seem
now.
the gag doesn't seem to stop, Karen
No,
from
it did.
talking. Doesn't seem to
But is
stop
it proven-
documentaries being out there.
Is it
She
prudent to
wait,
piss
wait.
everybody
Those
off?
the interviews she did on the documentary preceded the gag order.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that nonetheless, you would think that maybe it's not a great idea to be doing too much talking.
That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. Yeah.
Well, what do you think of the? To me, like, I don't think she's going to question witnesses. I
No.
don't think she may be helpful in jury selection. Number one. And number two, she is going to provide insight from a place in the courtroom where we never go, which is the jury box. And let me tell you, my view of a civil trial from the jury box was much different than any view I've had in the courtroom as a lawyer and as a journalist covering trials. It was so different being in the box. And she was in the box for this case, for these witnesses, for this evidence. So she can provide insight that the prosecution is not getting. She is getting insight that you never get.
Even as an alternate.
Yes. Well, she doesn't get into the deliberation process, but they've got a pretty good idea of what happened in deliberations from the juror who spoke afterwards, gave part of what was talked about and what they were focused on in deliberation. So they have sort of a thumbnail sketch of that. What they don't have is the breakdown, witness by witness, piece of evidence by piece of evidence, things that had an impact, things that didn't have an impact, what landed, what missed. That is and I hate this word invaluable, because invaluable means very valuable, right?
Yes.
Like more than valuable.
It sounds,
like
it
it's
doesn't
not
mean
valuable.
Yeah.
That's
Right? Like, who is the marketing genius that came up with that? Al is about to disagree with me. I can tell by his body language, right?
Yeah, I saw that he was holding back there.
I feel like I need to play poker with him.
I play 3-card. We go to the casinos. We'll see how we do on that. All right. Here's my issue. One, I don't think she's going to have any value whatsoever. Every jury is different. Every jury box is different. She'll be able to give her personal perspective with regards to same, which quite candidly is worthless. They have people that do jury selection. You have jury consultants, and they're very interesting to deal with. I've never worked with one because, quite frankly, they're exceedingly expensive, and the clients generally don't want to spend the money on that. Okay, but you've got jury consultants that sit there and they go through all of the details about the background of the individuals and what they do, because they ask questions like, what magazines do you read, what movies do you like to watch? So you're going to get a rounded view, and then your jury consultant will give you questions that they want to hear the answers to, so they can decide who's going to be the type of person you want to have in the box at that time. Okay. She can't offer any of that. She's not even a criminal attorney. She's
She doesn't have to be a criminal attorney.
She's
almost better.
She does employment law.
It's
okay,
almost
which
better
means
that she's
employment
not a
law.
criminal
Most of that
lawyer.
time,
She's more like a
OAL.
real person.
Most of the time, that's OAL, which doesn't even have a jury in a lot of instances.
I read Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Would that preclude me from your jury?
What?
I read Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Well, I would ask you who your favorite wrestler was of all time, and if it was the wrong answer, you'd be gone.
Superstar Billy Graham.
See, you'd be gone.
Interesting.
How about Ric Flair? I like him and Shawn Michaels.
Well, Ric Flair. Okay, my top 3. Roddy Piper.
Bad guys. Why are you picking bad guys?
Because bad guys have all the fun, and the ladies love the bad guys.
And Roddy Piper went back and forth on that.
But he was a bad guy when he would wrestle Chavo Guerrero.
Yes.
Every Thursday night on Canal 41 from the Olympic Auditorium. Los amigos, Canal 41, Lucha Libre, Roddy Piper, Chavo Guerrero.
All right, so he was
was it Jack Lemmon? Not Jack Lemmon. Jack Lennon, the ring announcer, the famous ring announcer.
Yep, absolutely.
He was number 1. Ric Flair was number 2, and Bret the Hitman Hart number 3.
Oh.
Time to get happy. It's time to get funky. It's time for a smile, because here comes Max Spunky.
Want to get
Hello
funky
from-
like a monkey.
Hola from the Spunkster, McSpunky in the house. Always great to have him on the show.
Blended. So, all right, going back to this individual, I don't know what she adds to the defense team. I mean, I will tell you this: it certainly is interesting. It certainly has it bought some headlines, and I'll see where it goes. She was actually hired, by the defense law firm, so she's got a new job out of the deal. So good for her. Good for her.
And
I don't.
my
Is it
guess
going
is-
to help the defense? I doubt it.
I bet she becomes a criminal attorney because of her experience. Like if you listen to what she was saying, she was so what's the word I'm looking for? She was
so close to the unemployment line as soon as the trial's over.
No. But by the way, an attorney who was able to take off months from work is pretty amazing.
Well, pretty amazing. That's unbelievable. Okay.
Yeah. But
I mean,
she's doing her civic duty. But she was
she got a
she
job.
was so
out of it.
upset by what she was seeing in our criminal justice system. She felt it was an affront to the system, and maybe that's her calling to now go into criminal law.
let me ask you this question that you opened up with. Okay, you said that this retrial is probably the biggest retrial in history, it's like of the century, right? Don't you think the Menendez retrial was pretty big? Oh, we're doing this now. Oh,
You said history.
I get good. All right, I'm ready.
Say the magic word. Say the magic word.
Also, Menendez was a
The duck will come down and give you another.
Menendez was a
always
good
knows who is who. It's this day in history. This day in history. History. Now let's listen to his story.
All right. Well, today is March 28th, and on March 28th in the year 657,
Oh my!
Constantinople became Istanbul, which is a great song that I was singing before by They Might Be Giants, which was Istanbul is now Constantinople, and Constantinople. So, it's like, why did they make it work? That's nobody's business, but the Turks. I'm sorry. But so that's Constantinople became Istanbul. In 1939, Generalissimo Francisco Franco, who, believe it or not, Vinny, is still dead,
Whoa.
captured Madrid
Can you Google that?
captured Madrid to end the Spanish Civil War and overthrew the democratic Spanish Republic.
Wait a minute. The Spanish Civil War is over.
Yes.
Who
yes.
won?
And the General Francisco Franco won in 1939.
They had a civil war in 39?
They had a civil war in the 30s, yes, in the mid 30s. That was
Spain.
Hemingway was there, and For Whom the Bell Tolls, and all those works were all individuals. There was the Lincoln Brigade that went over from New York, which were Americans that volunteered to fight on behalf of the Democratic Spanish Republic, and they were all.
Who were they fighting?
They were fighting Francisco Franco, who was coming with the fascist military junta.
And Francisco Franco lost.
No, Franco won and ended up becoming the dictator. The interesting thing about the Spanish Civil War is it actually is a dress rehearsal for World War II, because the Germans sent over a ton of advisors and fighters, and they developed their blitzkrieg philosophy that they would use shortly thereafter in September of 1939 when they stormed into Poland to start World War II. So the Spanish Civil War is a very, very significant event with regards to that. The interesting thing is there's the Chris Guest's, the mockumentaries they have. Yeah. They did one about the folk singers, and one of the groups was the folk singers would sing about the Spanish Civil War. So so if you get a chance to watch that movie, it's quite funny on that.
Hey, Gringa, thank you, Gringa, and thanks for choosing this topic, Tangents. Gringa is all in on Karen Reed. Great to see you today. Thank you, Gringa.
I thought you were talking about the Spanish Civil War. All right, but 1979, the 3 Mile Island core meltdown.
Ooh, that was scary.
That was the U.S. the most serious nuclear reactor incident in U.S. history. Fortunately, very little radioactive gases escaped into the atmosphere, and there was no health threat. But there could have been with regards to that.
Remember the
And
Saturday
now,
Night Live skit where someone spilled Coke or something, and that's how it happened?
yes,
No
no,
Coke.
that was the Simpsons, wasn't
No
it?
Coke, Pepsi.
Wasn't it the Simpsons? That's how the nuclear react, like, because he
Well, the
worked at a
Simpsons may have done it also, but
yeah,
I
because he worked
thought
at a nuclear reactor. And then finally, okay, in true crime history, March 28th, 2016, Winston Moseley died
who's that?
in prison.
Did he
Winston
smoke
Moseley,
Winston's?
Winston Moseley was the man who killed Kitty Genovese.
Oh,
Oh,
Now, for those of you that may or may not know, Kitty Genovese was a woman in Kew Garden, Queens, who worked at a bar. She was coming home late at night, and Winston Moseley, who had been scouting around for someone to essay and rob, saw her, attacked her. Allegedly, 37 people heard her screaming for help, and no one called the police, or no one came out of their apartments to try to help her. Back then, okay, in the year that this happened, okay, which was in 1964, 911 had not been developed yet. So you had to know your police department's phone number, or you had to call the operator in order to get the police department. But of the 37 people, it turned out to be almost 41 people that
operator, get me the police.
yes, that's right.
That's how we used to do it. Well,
And,
not with a cell phone, but
And so as a result of that, not only did he attack her, and then she crawled into the building where she lived, but she couldn't get into the locked area. He left and then came back and then red rummed her, and then had essay with her corpse, because he's a necrophiliac.
and the reason no one everyone thought someone else would call.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. People claim that, well, we thought it might have been in the throes of passion. We weren't really sure. We were, it was, the things get noisy. It was 2:30 in the morning. What was she doing out and everything else? And what didn't help this matter back at that time was that Kitty Genovese was a lesbian, okay? And they initially thought it was her lesbian lover who she lived with that was the one that orchestrated all of this.
Gotcha.
Winston Moseley ended up finally getting arrested, okay? During his first parole hearing, he told the parole board that the notoriety he faced due to his crime made him a victim, stating, quote, "For a victim outside, it's a one-time or 1 hour or 1 minute affair. But for the person who's caught, it's forever."
Wow. That is
Not incredible.
Yeah, how'd that defense work out?
Okay, well, he was denied parole 18 times. Okay. And then the last time was in November of 2015. And then fortunately, he died in prison in March 28th of 2016. But this man, even in prison, had escaped at one point, ended up at Sing Sing, okay, and was part of the riots that went on there. So this was not a good man by any stretch.
No. And big thanks to McSpunky and also to Roger Bailey. This is interesting. Vinny, today in the UK, a criminologist sentenced to life for a woman to death and attempted of her partner. Sound familiar? Yeah. Sounds like the Idaho student case, the Idaho 4, the defendant in that case, I don't like to say his name, also studying criminology and criminal justice. Interesting. And thank you, Roger, from the UK.
Yes. So Moseley spent 52 years in prison, deservedly so. He was also, there's another interesting little fact. He admitted to the murder of, to Sedram, of 2 other people, okay? One of which already had someone who had confessed. And they used him as a defense witness in the trial, that the defense said that, you know, he was taking credit for this red rum. He went on the trial. The jury deadlocked. They had a second trial for the individual who he claims, you know, that didn't do it, that he did it. And the guy was convicted of that red rum.
All right,
So,
Al, Jan Kumbiski. Who are they talking about? So who are you talking about? Just to bring it up to speed. You just tuned in.
I'm bringing up to speed the fact that on this day in 2016, Winston Moseley, and this is the subject of the Kitty Genovese, which is a very famous story about was supposed to be the apathy amongst the residents of New York to crime, and that they wouldn't help somebody who was screaming bloody red rum. 37 people, 41 people. They have since that time backed off a little bit on the story. And I don't know if that was just because of the fact that like the residents of Kew Garden, Queens were very upset about how this was played. But there were a number of movies that detailed this whole situation. And as I said, because she was a lesbian, some people thought that maybe they wouldn't have helped her because of that. It was a horrible, horrible thing. But the Kitty Genovese, and I'm going to throw this question out to Jonesy and to you, Vin. Ever come upon a crime in your? Yeah, I know, Jonesy, you were mugged. Okay, but I mean, did you ever witness a crime or something along those lines, and call the police or not call the police?
Well, at Court TV, it was on 39th and 3rd. It's the heart of Manhattan. Well, not the heart, but it's Midtown Manhattan. Very, very busy. Yeah, Mary Hill, as in the phone number on Lucy Ricardo.
Mary Hill 93434.
Right. If you look up Lucy's address, it was actually in the East River. But that's beside the point. So one day, I was walking in the neighborhood, and there was a guy walking, minding his own business, and there was a storefront that had one of those outdoor basement doors opened up. I don't know what you would call them, but people have seen them. And there was a fellow just walking by it, and a gentleman who looked to be homeless, if you could judge a book by its cover, came up alongside him and just pushed him as hard as he could into that hole. And I just saw the guy like fly and go down it like head first. I did not call anybody. It was Midtown Manhattan. There were a lot of witnesses. There were people in the store, and I just assumed that it was going to take care of itself.
You Genovesed him.
Nor did I go down to check out, if he was okay. I did see him emerge from the basement area.
So that latched basement you're talking about is the same that is in the house where Karen Reed says John O'Keefe was red rummed. Yeah. And they shot a video and they showed it to the jury going from the basement out the back to the backyard, and they had a latch that opened that would go outside of the basement. If you go up some stairs, then you're in the backyard, and then you make a left, you go through the fence, you walk straight, and you're right to the spot where John O'Keefe was found. And Ashley, thank you so much. Kitty Genovese, the queen of 911.
Yes, that's exactly right. As a result of her, that was 3 years later, 911 was instituted in throughout New York and then throughout the United States.
So did that give New York City its bad reputation, especially during that period of being a cold type of city like that?
Of course.
Or what was it already?
I don't think that helped.
Well, it certainly didn't help. I mean, certainly it was a situation that, that you're talking to people in other places in the United States, and they're like, how could someone not help? How could someone not have gone out when you heard this woman screaming, for her life?
And to fairly compare it, though, in other parts of the country, you would have to, know that the places like Queens are loud. You hear things all the time. Now, a woman screaming, that's a whole different thing. But that does weigh into it to a degree.
It was also, you might be right about loud, but it was 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
It wasn't like it was 2:30 in the afternoon where there was the hustle and bustle going on. It was 2:30 in the morning. It is Kew Garden, Queens is an outskirts of Manhattan. Okay, so it's not in the Manhattan area. It is
Still,
more
it's still the
residential.
city, though. It's still the city.
Right, it's still the city, but it's also more residential.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean there are businesses and stuff like that, not a mixed use buildings, but it is a residential
Which
area.
is why you would expect people to look out for each other, right?
Exactly.
Like, so,
Exactly.
by the way, folks, we are streaming live on my Facebook page, my YouTube page, my Twitch, and my X. But we're also streaming on Court TV's YouTube channel, and Court TV pointing out to us that those type of basements are big in New England. And I think someone called it a hatch. Was it a hatch, or what were people calling it? They're calling a bulkhead, maybe.
You see that on the older homes, even around in New Jersey,
Bulkhead.
in
Yeah.
the blue
It's a
collar
bulkhead.
neighborhoods.
It's a bulkhead.
The blue collar neighborhoods in New Jersey, a lot of those houses have that. Okay, it's
Well, I associate them mostly with stores, but yeah.
That's in the big city.
So
Bulkhead hatchways.
that's what happened on March 28th. I just want to make one little footnote on March 27th. Okay, in 1989, I was born.
Happy
Hey.
birthday, Al.
Happy birthday, Al.
And if
Don't
you check
leave
the
your
facts,
cake out in the rain.
if you check the facts, you'll realize I'm lying about 1989. But nonetheless, March 27th it was my birthday. So
So Al celebrated his birthday yesterday, folks. So I'm sure all the viewers are going to join in a big celebration. They're all singing right now.
yeah.
And if
you're throwing things,
by the way, if you're looking for a present for Al for his birthday,
yes.
I've got a place where you can go shopping.
Hey,
Where?
everybody. Hey, everybody. I've got something for your body. For your body. You can wear it by yourself or with Frankie Valli. It's true crime merch from Vinnie Originale. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch from Vinnie Originale. From Vinnie Originale.
Wow. I wonder why you knew the Mexican wrestling songs well. I mean,
World premiere.
that's excellent. That is excellent. And but by the way, today was the first I got my mug. So I'm
You got your mug. Do you have a
Got my mug
warm
today.
beverage in it?
I have not. I didn't have time. It just came when we were just getting on the air. So
Oh, really?
I'll have to check the mail after the show.
You better check the mail. Yeah.
So I
Anyway,
have to check on that. So going back to this Karen Reed situation, okay. One of the other things that's come up recently with regards to this case is the holdings that I know, Vinnie, you must be happy about. They kept the defense team intact. Okay, the judge did not throw out anyone with regards to these alleged incidents with the ARCA and the engineers.
there's no,
let the
let's just, there's no way she could do that. You can't.
well, but she didn't do it, and I
Right.
think that's important. And we're everyone is very quick to criticize this judge, but there were a lot of things that were done that I know obviously people are not agreeing with, but she did do the right thing. In Vinnie's opinion, okay, and a lot of people's opinion, by keeping the team intact, letting them go put those engineers on the stand. Okay, give them the opportunity to, as Vinnie likes to say, being transparent, putting everything out there for the jury, and she did do that. Another interesting fact that came up is that a civil suit was filed against Karen Reed not too long ago, and that's going to be an interesting aspect of it. Although Karen Reed did secure a victory by not having to testify in a deposition until her second trial was done.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, that's like standard operating procedure. Whenever
Yeah, that's fair.
there's a civil wrongful death, that is always after the criminal case has been, done. It's going
I'm
to
just
be over.
bringing, I'm just putting it out there with regards to
That's
saying
what happened in
that-
OJ. OJ, you had the criminal case, you had an NG, not guilty, and then you had the civil case, and he had to testify in the civil case. A couple other big rulings. One of them happened today where the judge said that communications between Turtle Boy and Karen Reed's attorneys will not be turned over. They're not discoverable. And also the communications, this is from the other day, the communications between Karen Reed and her attorney Prosecutors will not get, like, the whole fact that the prosecutor is actually asking for that, to me, sounds like desperation. Like, you should not need, wait, Al, you should not need communications between a criminal defendant and his or her attorney to prove your case.
I don't think you do. I agree with you, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Why?
I mean,
it does hurt to ask. That undermines our entire system.
But it never hurt. Look, you know what? The whole idea in a trial, okay, is to try to stretch the envelope, to try to get what you want to get.
Prosecutors, that's your job as a prosecutor, to get what you can get.
Why wouldn't the prosecutor want stuff that could possibly help them in the case? But also on the converse side,
you brought the case without enough evidence already? Why are you getting? Why would they even need more evidence at this point?
Vinny, that we know that.
Time out. She was indicted years ago. Why? They believed at that moment they had enough to convict her. So why are they searching and scrapping for more evidence at this point?
But because you got to be fair. I'll talk about why they would want that, because there were accusations that information, confidential information was being leaked, was being that there was witness intimidation going on and things along those lines. Now, I'm not in any way advocating. I am not in any way advocating that they should see any communications between her and her attorney. But there are instances where that is allowed. If the attorney is involved in something illegal or is condoning something that is illegal, that information can be discoverable.
Karen Reed did not know David Yannetti before John O'Keefe died. So there's nothing in any communication with him other than attorney-client after the fact. If you're talking about communications beforehand, like, how can I commit this and get away with it? That's what you're intimating here. That's
no, I'm
even
not.
close
No, I'm
yes,
not.
it is. And let's go to Fancy Nancy.
Wait a minute. You're
Fancy Nancy.
Wrong.
Happy birthday, Al.
Thank you very much.
He's our funny tangent pal. We love you, honey bun. Now go out and have some fun.
Hey, Ron.
That's swell.
Almost sounds like a musical lyric.
I like that. Now, and Vinny next week will have that in a song. But he
might have it in a song before the end of the show.
That. There were allegations that witnesses were being intimidated. There were allegations that there was information, confidential information, that was being let out. Either via Karen through the Turtle Boy or anything, or Mr. Carney or whatever situation, and other things along those lines. That is all part of a case that is actually going on with regards to charges against Turtle Boy. So nonetheless, if you are condoning illegal conduct by your client, that's not kosher. That's not legal. That's not ethical. All right. Now, I'm not saying that they had conversations before she was involved in this incident. That's absurd. Who the hell would even mention that? So even that you drawing that conclusion is patently absurd.
Well, that's an instance where maybe the attorney-client privilege could be pierced. But attorney-client privilege being pierced after someone's been charged and arrested and has hired an attorney, to me, is like, that's ridiculous.
It's happened in cases where, with regards to jury tampering, cases involved. I mean,
there's no jury tampering here.
But you're saying that it doesn't happen. I'm telling you, it does happen. And if the attorney is involved in illegal behavior, it certainly happens.
But there wasn't even the allegation that they're engaged in.
Is there an allegation, Vinny, that there were intimidating witnesses? Is there an allegation against that?
That the
is there an allegation
that there was
is there an allegation of intimidation of witnesses
by Turtle Boy?
Okay, so how does Turtle Boy get that information?
Information from what?
Through Karen Reed, and then they get.
What does that have to do with Karen Reed's case?
Because
that's the case against Turtle Boy. What does that have to do with the death of John O'Keefe? Nothing.
If the attorney is condoning that type of behavior or facilitating that kind of behavior, it's illegal. It's immoral. It's unethical.
And it didn't happen.
Well, I'm not saying it did.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that you certainly there are questions about about intimidation of witnesses, possibly intimidation of jurors. Okay.
No
All of that is
intimidation
going
of
forward.
jurors. Come on. Now you're stretching. Now you're stretching now. Now you're going to get the people riled up.
I'm not. Look,
Now you're going to get the people riled up.
I am not. I know. Well, I always do. So, but what I'm just trying to say is this:
the allegation of jury tampering was by the defense against the persecutors.
Okay, that's good. Right. So let's take a look at their emails. Let's take a look at their text messages. Good for the goose, remember? Good for the gander, boys.
From Tammy, Judge Gull, who is Judge Fran Gull from the Delphi case, and Aunt Bev, graduated same class, bias. I would say that Judge Fran Gull out in Indiana clearly demonstrated a lot of unusual rulings and bias. I would say Judge Cannoni, I think she's been much more down the middle than Judge Fran Gull was outrageous. She actually removed the defense attorneys.
Right. That's a whole different
against the wishes of the defendant who wanted them as his attorneys. Like, that is beyond anything. Judge Cannoni, no, I think Judge Cannoni is a situation where, there have been rulings that have gone both ways, because she is not permitting the prosecutor to go to certain places that I think Judge Fran Gull would have allowed prosecutors to go to in that case. So I think she's been much more even-handed. I think some of her rulings are a result of Massachusetts law as well.
But also, if she had the situation with regards to the ARCA, the engineers, I guarantee you that she would have thrown off them and the defense team. Okay, which did not happen in this matter. And by the way,
she would have lost on appeal.
The federal appeals, all failed on the Karen Reed case. So keep that in mind.
So Jonesy, Dawn Marie, Vinnie Politan, Alan Jonesy, TGIF boys. So TGIF, was that phrase born from the movie?
No.
Or
Thank God It's Friday?
Yes, that was one of the first. That was the first movie I ever went to where we got dropped off by ourselves. All right, like there was no, like, a group of us went to the movies. It's a night. It's a weekend night, like Saturday. I think we saw it on a Saturday, not a Friday. But it was Thank God It's Friday, the movie.
Heaven on the Seventh Floor was a great song from that movie.
Yes, Heaven on the Seventh Floor. The Commodores, Donna Summer was in that movie. And you know who made one of his big debuts was, what's his name, Goldblum?
Really? Yeah, Jeff Goldblum?
Jeff Goldblum was in that one as well. He was in that movie.
Yeah, it was kind of a knockoff, in my opinion, when it first came out, because Saturday Night Fever, obviously, was the catalyst behind making it.
Right. But was Thank God It's Friday or TGIF, was that a saying?
I believe so, yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You may be right. Oh, look who's here, folks. Gen X wishing Al a happy birthday. And of course, Gen X, one of our fantastic, amazing members of the Mod Squad.
Order in the chat. Order in the chat. Don't dare attack. We've got order in this chat. The Mod Squad is on the job, helping us to keep it clean. The Mod Squad is on the job, always so nice and never mean.
All right. So big thanks to Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Soubey, Ashley Bouchard over on Facebook.
Thank you for the kind birthday wishes.
Which do you think is more difficult, keeping law and order in the chat or law and order in the Karen Reed courtroom?
Oh, I don't know. How about law and order in the chat on Karen Reed?
Oh, forget it. Okay. Forget it. We get, you're going to get killed. Whatever. If you have an opinion on anything, you get killed.
Wasn't Deborah Winger also in Thank God It's Friday?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I'm like thinking to myself on that one. I know Terry Nunn was in it, and I'm just trying to remember. I thought Deborah Winger was in it, like another that's 1978. So I mean, it was like a very very early appearance by her.
Jonesy, who sang the song "Thank God It's Friday"?
You know, I was trying to think about that. Was it Santa Esmeralda?
Nope.
Friday. Love and Kisses.
Love and Kisses, correct.
Yeah, here's
That's
one for
very
you.
good.
Can't
Very,
Stop
very
the
good on
Music,
that one.
starring the Village People with Steve Guttenberg.
Steve,
Which
Yeah,
one
he
was
was
it?
a star. He was a star back in the day.
And Bruce Jenner.
Bruce Jenner was in
And-
that with the Village People.
And I forget the name of the blonde model. Was it It wasn't Cheryl Teague.
Wasn't Cheryl Teagues?
Maybe.
Valerie Perrine.
Sounds good.
Jury Duty Pod Kimberly loves the Mod Squad song. I don't know which is my favorite song at this point. There's so many good ones, so many hits. I love the Mod Squad song. It's kind of old school for me, but there's something about this day in history that just is a earworm that just runs through my mind.
Yes, that's what that. Thank you.
Day in history.
I have that. I like to be an earworm in people.
And Doris is right on it. Order in the court. I'll order a burger and fries. So who was it? I think it was my father used to say, order in the court. The judge is eating beans or something like that. There was some saying that was something like that. I'm getting it slightly wrong. And I can't remember. Do you remember the song Here Comes the Judge?
Yes, here comes. Yeah. That was from Laugh-In.
What was it
Laugh-In
from?
did that. Laugh-In did
I thought it was Flip Wilson. Actually.
No, it was
the Flip Wilson show.
It was not. I'm almost positive it was Laugh-In because it was one of the performers on that. Like, here come the judge. Here come the judge. And they had different people use that on, and they would wear the British, wig, the long wig, and it was like, here come the judge. Here come the judge. Order in the courtroom. I am the judge. And it would always be a black judge that would be coming in with regards to that. I'm almost positive it was Laugh-In. I may be wrong. But I also want to mention that Thank God It's Friday won an Academy Award for the best song.
Did it really?
Yes,
wow, that's nice.
I didn't think it was that great.
Well, I had a good time. It was fun. We went to the Essex Screen Cinema in West Orange,
Essex Screen Cinema. Oh, yeah. Not far from Pal's Cabin, where
that's right.
Good
Pal's Cabin. That's where I had my christening. So
that was the first movie you got to go to on your own. So it was a 1978 movie. So how old were you?
The first time that we had gone to the movies down at the beach, but we got dropped off at the movies, getting dropped off. Before that, I believe I had snuck into Animal House with my friend during the day.
Okay.
But this was at night. It's like going out at night with a bunch of friends. So we went, and then we started going to the movies because that's what you did back in the day if you weren't going to the mall. JD likes the intro song, Vinny Has the Blue Eyes. Fantastic. Fancy Nancy pointing out that this day in history, Al was born.
That was yesterday.
Joanne Keefe. You get everything wrong, Vinny, says Joanne Keefe.
Thank you. Now, finally, somebody I can agree with.
She didn't say that you get everything right. She just said that he gets everything wrong.
Well, but I agree with that.
Chris R. says, here comes the judge, was Flip Wilson.
Was Flip Wilson?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
How about that?
I just don't like to argue.
Rhino
I just figured you would look it up and you'd come back and say I was right.
Rhino Girl.
Well, I would.
Here he goes.
Here we go. Order in the court. The judge is eating beans. His wife is in the bathtub shooting submarines.
Oh, my stars.
Jesus Christ. What is that? Some sort of Nazi propaganda film or something?
No, I don't know, but thank you, Rhino Girl.
My stars.
Yes, indeed. By the way, I got 1 second. Talk amongst you.
All right, you're wrong. Sorry, not Flip Wilson. It was Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In.
Really?
Yes.
Google it with the
Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. was the first one to do it on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In.
Google it with the name Flip Wilson in it.
I wonder if they both did it.
Flip Wilson could have been on Rowan. Could have been on whatchamacallit. Could have been on
No,
Laughing.
I saw it on the
Rowan,
Flip
here
Wilson.
it goes. Here comes the judge. Rowan and Martin's laughing. Period. The end. Win. Everything you say is wrong, Vin.
I didn't say who it was. I didn't know who it was.
No, I know, but I was just going on that last comment.
But I saw it.
I
on
like
Flip
that one, so
I
I keep
saw
bringing
it
it
on
up.
Flip Wilson within the last few years.
Well, that might be fine, but I'm telling you, it started in Rowan.
Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep.
Look, I'm sorry. I am this show's historian,
Beep, 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 beep.
so I like to bring that out. I like to make sure that people realize I'm right, since they always seem to be pointing out how wrong I am.
One thing I wanted to ask folks, if I mentioned this in the beginning, but I think I changed the settings on the transmission, so we should all be clearer.
Yes.
Are you all seeing us clearer than you have in prior episodes of the program?
Is there anybody out there?
Mary D, happy birthday, Albert. What is your favorite cake?
My favorite cake? Oh, that's interesting. I'm a big fan of rum cakes. I love a good rum cake with the buttercream frosting, okay, heavy on the rum, and a granola filling.
Really?
Yeah.
I was always traditionally chocolate. I like chocolate cake with chocolate icing. But in terms of alternative cakes for me, I don't eat too often because I've been stricken with type 1 diabetes. But I you know what I like? I like a good banana cake. Is that crazy?
No, it's fine.
Is that crazy? Am I crazy, Jonesy?
Yeah. Yeah, you're crazy.
What cake does Jonesy eat?
Chocolate, of course. And I guess if I were going to go outside the chocolate spectrum, because chocolate's in a world of its own, perhaps lemon.
Lemon cake.
Yeah.
Lemon cake.
Did you ever have the we used to get these in the summertime, the Pepperidge Farm square cakes?
Oh yeah.
Yes. That was like in the freezer section.
I bought one like a year ago because I said I haven't tasted one of these since I was probably 12, right? And I tasted it was good. I had a nice little sliver, but it took me back to the day.
It's like a 7-layer cake or something like that, right?
So looking at this, Karen Reed now going into the retrial of the century, who has the advantage going in? I believe, like contrary to what I usually believe going into a retrial, which is always advantage prosecution.
Yes.
I believe because of two factors. One, you've got juror insight with this new member of the defense team. And two, Trooper Proctor now has officially been fired for having bias in his investigation of this case.
Well, wait a minute. It's not fired because of bias. It's fired because of misconduct with regards to how he was putting out making opinion statements and doing stupid things, and something about alcohol, which I still can't figure out what that's.
That was from a different incident. He also
right, but I mean that was one of the reasons why he was fired.
Isn't that another way of saying
bias in this investigation?
Right. Isn't that another way of saying bias in this investigation?
No, it's saying stupidity.
They found bias.
Look,
the board found bias.
That's
going to be in front of this jury. This jury is going to hear it.
2 + 2 = 4, right? But if I make a racist comment in doing that, okay, it still equals 4. It's just inappropriate the way I came to the conclusion. But the conclusion is still correct.
Didn't help Mark Furman.
Well, it didn't help Mark Furman at all. And it may not help in this case either.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But you know what? How many people have stepped back and said that was ridiculous what they ended up doing with Mark Furman, and that a guilty man went free, which is the cornerstone of our system. And God willing, you don't want to have any innocent people being convicted. You'd rather have 100 guilty people, set free than one innocent man convicted or woman convicted. But it's not. You have to look at the situation with regards to what he did. It was stupid. It was an idiot move. But
it's
Well,
Vince, I
he
just want to
made
bring
a
up
lot
that
of idiot moves, and many of them before his investigation of OJ.
well, those were comments he made with regards to a book he thought he was going to be getting into. I mean, I don't know why we're going into the Mark Furman stuff, but I mean, like in that, and I'm not condoning what Mark Furman did, okay, but it was comments he made relative to a book that was being looked into as a script. I mean, I know a lot of police officers that get involved in that. One of the most famous, of course, is Sonny Grasso, who was a very, very close and dear friend. Roy Scheider played his character in the movie The French Connection. Okay, and he and his partner were the ones that this was all about, and they had given all their insights and things along those lines, and were creative consultants. And I'm sure they said probably some very nasty comments, and nonetheless, they still were good cops.
Trooper Proctor, through his actions on various dates between January 29, 2022 and August 17, 2022, did fail to conform to the work standards established for the member's rank, title, or position, and or did fail to take appropriate action on the occasion of a crime, disorder, or other condition deserving state police attention. This occurred when Trooper Proctor, while assigned as the lead investigator in a homicide investigation, through his unprofessional and inappropriate conduct, created an image that he was biased in his dealings with a homicide suspect and or brought otherwise himself and the Massachusetts State Police into disrepute. This action is in direct violation of Article 5.8. This is a Class A violation A. Trooper Proctor, July 19th, did consume, and this is the alcohol while on duty, which is a Class B violation. And thank you to Ashley Bouchard, our mod, who quickly was able to get that to us.
And that is the appearance of impropriety, which doesn't necessarily mean that there is an impropriety. It means that what he did by making those comments made it appear, that he had a bias towards the defendant. That's the appearance of impropriety is what is a standard that's used in almost every jurisdiction. So look, you know what? He was an idiot for doing what he did. He deserved to get fired. He deserved to get canned. I have no problem with that. For what he did and how he handled it, it was ridiculous. You need to have sensitivity in that type of a situation. I understand when a cop is red rummed, that's one thing that Blue takes very seriously. And it is something that has always garnered a lot of fear amongst police officers. But it doesn't mean you attack somebody personally or you try to humiliate someone personally.
Right.
And he did that. And he didn't deserve to have his job after that.
Okay.
It doesn't mean he didn't come to the right answer. And I'm not saying that that's up to me. It's not. It's going to be up to the jury. But
up to the jurors. Hey, listen, Kay, I do not think it is plausible that Karen Reed backed over John. I think he would have been halfway up the driveway by the time she put the vehicle in reverse. This is something I never thought of. And thank you, Kay. If, in fact, he gets out of the car, like prosecutors say, and Karen pulls forward and then jams it in reverse and then hits him, like, why is he still standing there?
Because, all right, I'll give you my explanation on that.
Explain.
All right. If you're having a fight, you're arguing with her, and then she's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm not coming. What do you mean you're not coming? Come on, come in. Let's go into the party. No, I'm not going. Come on, stop. No, I'm leaving. And so he's standing there watching this, like, come on, I want you to come with me to the party. And then that's how that happens. So he could have conceivably been standing there because they were in a fight and he didn't want her to leave, either because he thought she couldn't drive, because of her level of intoxication, or because he wanted her to be with him, or he didn't want her to leave mad because he knew he was going to get grief when he got home later. So either way, there's a plausible reason why he would have still been standing there as opposed to running into the house. If he ran into the house, believe me, I'm sure she would not have been too happy, and I'm sure he wouldn't have been too happy if he had gotten home that night. So he's begging her, come on, stay, please. Let's go in. Let's stop this. And that's why he's still standing there. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, I rest.
I don't think there's a reason to explain that, because who's to say how quickly she threw it into reverse, and who's to say how quickly he walked into the house?
Well, I'm not saying you have to. It's just I'm answering the question that was just asked.
I'm commenting on the comment.
That's why I'm doing too.
Hey, it's me. Bias was the reason in the reports. Thank you. Hey, it's me. Hey, it's me. If you take the first letter is him. Oh, here's an interesting question. Does anyone know the answer? Ashley Bouchard's asking, what in the world is hummingbird cake?
Ooh. It's something they would serve on the Munsters, maybe.
Yeah.
That's Mockingbird. Aren't they 1313 Mockingbird Lane was the Munsters residence?
So I believe it's advantage defense going in. It's time for one of you two to answer. Who do you believe has the advantage in the retrial of the century?
I'll defer to the man downstairs.
I think the prosecution has the advantage. I think they always have the advantage.
I do think that in a retrial, the majority of the time, the prosecution has the advantage. And I think, it's funny, I didn't do this, but I will take a look for the next show what the percentage is of convictions after retrial. It's got to be pretty high.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And I've seen cases, we've covered cases on Court TV where you went from 11-1 not guilty to a conviction in the retrial.
Why? Because it's, really, it's a do-over that's not a do-over. You've already got all of the testimony. You've got all the stuff that is a potential issue that needs to be explored better. You're building a better cake. And I mean, basically, that's what you're doing as a prosecutor is you're building a cake, and then you want to be able to serve it to the jury. And in this instance, if there's a bad taste in their mouth, you know what ingredients you need to alter in order to get that cake to taste damn good.
Well, the hummingbird cake is a southern gem that boasts 3 incredibly moist layers flavored with canned pineapple and bananas.
And I used to like pineapple upside down cake when I was a kid. My mother used to make pineapple upside down cake.
Why did they do that? Why did they make it upside down?
I have no idea. I never asked that question. I just grabbed a tall glass of milk and dug in.
It's interesting with upside down. Is that just a cake? You bake it one way and then you go like this and serve it?
Yeah, but in reality, don't you do that with every cake when you take it out of a pan? That's how you get it out of the pan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I do know that my band, the Legals, I had written a song called Dyslectic Apple Pie, which
so you eat it from the right to the left?
No, dyslectic apple pie means you eat the crust first. There was a restaurant that was like 3 doors down from CBGB's that was a Indian takeout, and what they did was they would put slices of pie in a cardboard box, and you would rip off the back of the cardboard box, and that would be where the crust was, okay, because that's where you had to start it, and then you would just kind of squeeze up and eat. So dyslectic apple pie is you eat the crust first.
Oh.
Whereas in ordinary instances, you would be eating, the pie first and work your way to the crust. And I use it in the context of man's inhumanity to man via an interracial struggle. So that's what the song was about. But it was actually just the fact that, you had to, dyslectic apple pie, you eat the crust first. There's no milk in the house and I'm dying of thirst. So very, very romantic.
Well, what part of the chocolate bunny do you eat first?
Oh, that's interesting, right?
The ears. Got to go with the ears.
I used to always take like the head off because I thought that was like the meanest thing to do to the little bunny. But a friend of mine pointed out if you eat its feet, it has to watch as you eat it, the rest of it.
So in other words, you make this into some sort of like PETA situation here. Now, we're gonna be getting like protesters outside our office, PETA attacking you for doing cruel things.
PETA would protest anything if it thought it would get him some press.
Well,
They are good at getting press.
Yeah.
Well, this thing about eating the feet of the bunny so they can watch you as you're nibbling up.
Yeah.
I mean, I might even join PETA with regards to that one. Okay.
Well,
That's cool.
I go with the head. I put it out of its misery because I always thought like that was the thing to do, to bite its little head off. Solid? Did you guys get solid chocolate bunnies or hollow? I always got hollow.
Hollow.
Yeah,
I always had hollow.
Too hard to eat the solid ones anyway.
Solid, that's too much. It's
There's a
just
place.
too much.
There's a place, candy store near me, and I think it's in near Freehold, that actually sells 6-foot chocolate bunnies for Easter.
That's insane. So now, Vin, you know what? Are we the other thing I wanted to bring up about the Karen Reed situation, that the federal appeals are over and everything else. I do think that the prosecution is going to have it has the upper hand, always does, and I think what they're doing and how they're handling this and going forward is that they're really trying to box in the defense. Now, the defense, of course, is now going to be trying to point out that there's a possibility of one of 3 other people that could have been responsible for this, and the prosecution is working very hard to try to keep that out. But that's going to be a big part of this case. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, the third party culpability here to me is everything. Is what's interesting in speaking with the juror from the first trial, it was more of a classic. They didn't prove the case. Like he didn't know what happened at the end of the trial. The juror hadn't. I said, "What do you think happened?" He says, "I don't know what happened." And that's classic not guilty, right? If you don't know what happened, obviously it hasn't been proven. But by the same token, it wasn't really proven by the defense that there was this conspiracy, right? So he didn't believe that there was a conspiracy, but he didn't believe the case was proven either. So it was more of your real classic reasonable doubt, which is prosecutors didn't meet their burden. They have the burden. We've got some notes I got to get to real quickly here before we run out of time. Nora, Vinny, on Melanie Little. So you said you believe Karen is guilty because she was drunk. There's drinking and driving, and there's drinking and fighting. Boys fight for little or no reason when they're drunk. What I said on the Melanie Little show is what I've been saying from the beginning of this. The first time I heard this case, I said, this sounds like a case of someone being under the influence and there's an accident, right? And whether it's criminal or not is debatable, right? And that's the way it was originally charged. And that's the way the defense originally approached their defense of the case before they started finding all this other material. But both sides changed from where they originally were, which was drinking, driving, accident. Is it an accident that is a crime, or is it just an accident that's an accident, right? That's where this case began, right? And then prosecutors turned it into a red rum case, and the defense, through their investigation, believe it was something else. It was a cover-up and a frame job and everything else. So from starting in this place, which is where I began this, and I am in exactly the same place that this jury was. The jury was in the same place. They were debating whether or not this was an accident and whether or not it was an accident that includes criminal liability. Because some accidents don't, some accidents do. Some believe straight not guilty, that they did not prove that Karen Reed's vehicle is the one that was responsible. But the jury was debating exactly where both sides were in the beginning before prosecutors turned it into red rum and the defense uncovered information that said, oh my goodness, what is going on here? And it's amazing that the jury ended up where both places started. And that's where I've been all along. I've been like right there, like I never believed this was a red rum. I have not seen enough evidence to prove to me that there is this elaborate conspiracy. But then we're in the middle, like what exactly happened? What can you prove? And I felt in the first trial, prosecutors, through the experts that testified, prosecutors did not prove to me that she was struck by the vehicle through the evidence that was brought in court. I'm just saying, like, my gut is telling me usually when people drink and drive, bad things happen. And that's where we were. So that's kind of where I am on this. I don't believe in red rum. I haven't seen enough with the conspiracy. And what I say about for me to believe a conspiracy is you need more investigation. But that investigation never really happened. And what I mean is not the federal investigation of the investigators, but the initial investigation of what happened to John O'Keefe. They never went in the house. They never questioned people in the house. That wasn't part of their investigation because they believed Karen Read had confessed, and that's where they stayed, and they didn't go anywhere else. So for me to believe that there's this massive conspiracy, you would need a much deeper investigation at the time that all this is happening. So that's kind of where I am. Does that make sense?
Ben, I'm going to interject at this time. We just got a note from one of our Tangianistas from England, Jenna, who watches with her 8-year-old son Albie, which is interesting because that was my nickname when I was working on the DPW and paving streets. They used to call me Albie. Okay, that going to go to be with you guys at CrimeCon.
Oh,
okay. And then this is the part that distresses me the most: is Darnell going?
Let's invite him.
Oh no, please.
He can stay in our house.
No.
All right.
No.
Thank you so much, Nora. Let's go to wait, what do we have here? We'll get to that in 1 second. Ashley, thank you, Ashley Linnell. How do you explain Higgins' white Jeep? Jen and Matt are the only people that place it there, but Ryan's truck is there at the same time, and she backs up there at the same time, according to Hank. This was very confusing throughout the trial, and we tried to map it out, but some of the testimony is inconsistent about where Higgins parked his Jeep. Did he park it in the driveway? Did he park it in the street? If he parked it in the street, was he behind Karen Read? How did the person who pulled up behind Karen Read see Karen Read if his Jeep is there? So there are a lot of questions about that, which I can't explain because the witness testimony was inconsistent, very inconsistent. Pro Gamer, thank you very much. The feds provided the evidence that Karen Read is not guilty to the Commonwealth. Text ACA, then the feds just watch the Commonwealth continue. FBI is watching how far the corrupt actors will go and how many they can catch. I don't know. I think the federal investigation is over, but would we know if it's over?
No.
We wouldn't, right? So we don't know.
But we do know it's over because nothing has happened.
Nothing has happened, right? Okay. Let's see.
It's a long enough amount of time. So, generally these investigations don't go into perpetuity. If they don't have someone that they're bringing up to string up, they've found nothing.
Gringa, defendants have been acquitted for a lot less reasonable doubt, which is true. And people have been convicted with less evidence, believe it or not. So I've seen it both ways through the years at Court TV. So it's tough to predict what a jury is going to do.
We talked about.
Wait a minute, we got breaking news, Al.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, breaking news.
We got some breaking news.
Wait a minute, the Titanic has been hit. Oh, not that.
1 second, I had it, then I didn't have it. I have it. Where is it? I think I have it. Do I have it?
Happy birthday to Al. He's a funny tangent pal. We love you, honey bun. Now go out and have some fun. Happy birthday to Al. He's a funny tangent pal. We love you, honey bun. Now go out and have some fun.
All right. Al with a funky birthday.
That's definitely get a very, very nice new wave California kick to it. And I will be seeing the Dead Kennedys on Saturday and Bad Brains on Saturday. So this is good, giving me that Southern California kick before I see them in concert.
An instant hit, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, are you kidding me? It's amazing.
So how much of the Dead Kennedy show is going to be Jello talking about?
Jello's no longer with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jello hasn't been with them for a number of years. I actually, I stay in touch with him. He actually lives in Colorado, so maybe we'll hook up with him when we're at CrimeCon.
We'll have a sleepover.
Yeah, we could. Oh, how was April doing?
Thank you, April Diaz. Have a great day today. Thank you, April Diaz. We appreciate everything you say. We all know she's a great fan, and we know the kind words she has. We always love to hear from you. Thank you, April Diaz.
All right, April Diaz, thank you so much. Making sure she gets my have a great weekend, guys, and every single chatter. Nothing but love from the lovely April Diaz, who is quickly becoming a legend here, folks. It's amazing.
Well, how's she feeling? I mean, last time she was.
Yeah, I know she's battling, but I think she's doing well. She was very active in the chat today. I was noticing. So as Gen X says, thank you, April Diaz. Maybe that's my favorite song. I don't know.
Well, I got to tell you that birthday
out of time,
song,
guys. We're very close to being out of time.
All right, but let me just say this: that birthday song is like 100% hands-on Offspring. Sounds just
Offspring?
like the. Yeah.
All right.
Sounds like the Offspring.
I'll send it to you, Al, so you have it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. We have any more comments that we need to get to? No, but a big here's from our hug dealer sending a hug to April. That's a great handle, right? Hug dealer.
Yeah. How much for a hug?
Yeah, hug dealer. That is actually a very, very nice little handle there. I agree.
Yeah. Although she was thinking it was more like Green Day.
No, it's definitely Offspring. It's Offspring.
Are Offspring, are they the ones that said pretty fly for a white guy?
Loben, pretty fly for a white guy.
Okay, there we go. Fantastic.
Give it to me, baby.
Oh, Gringa. The first hug is
the
free.
Scorpios song starts. You can like with the count off.
I'm sorry?
Isn't that how the Scorpions hit starts, with that count off that you just did?
Yeah, but that also Def Leppard used the same thing.
Yeah, Def Leppard definitely used it.
Yeah.
Gringa says the first hug is free, like any hug dealer, right?
Ooh, like any dealer. That's right. Ooh.
I was once in a kissing booth with Rhonda Shear. I used to appear on USA's Up All Night with Gilbert Gottfried and Rhonda Shear. I was in several episodes, and there was one where we were in Times Square in the center, and she had a kissing booth. And the gag was I would pay her, then she would put up like a plate of glass over her face, and you would kiss the glass. We apparently held up traffic in Times Square in this video shoot for hours because everybody was stopping to see what was going on.
Okay, kissing booths used to be an actual thing, right? It was like,
Yes.
it was like real.
Yeah, well, doesn't Lucy have one on the Charlie Brown? Or is that's
No. That was a kissing booth on Charlie Brown.
It was advice.
The doctor
right?
is in. It was she gave psychological advice.
The kissing booth was Happy Days. Happy Days, they had a kissing booth.
I gotta tell you,
was
Jonesy,
in it?
on fire. Jonesy is on fire.
Before herpes, though, right?
Jonesy gets the best performance award for this show. I'm still getting comments about eating the chocolate bunny from the feet up, and then this one just takes the cake. Lucy on the kissing booth. But you know who did have a kissing booth? Whatchamacallit? Jamie Farr was trying to raise money for the orphanage and had set up a kissing booth on MASH.
Oh, I did not know that.
Did Hot Lips take him up on it, or was it?
No one took him up on it. He only got $1 and 2 IOUs. So Father Mulcahy didn't get a lot of money.
Father Mulcahy. All right, guys, it's about that time where we have to end the program. A big thank you to the Mod Squad. Incredible chat, the super chats, fantastic. Great to see everyone today. I have not been streaming as much. I've just been super busy, a little bit of travel in between, but we'll get to it. I think Monday is going to be a big streaming day for me coming up based upon my future schedule here. But, of course, the Tangents every Friday every Friday of the weekend. Last Friday we couldn't because I was traveling, but we did a pop-up. If you haven't seen the pop-up, it was the first time ever, the Tangents, we were all together in like 2 decades, and we did a live pop-up stream. You can find it on the channel. So that's happening. Don't forget, folks, you can watch me tonight on Court TV, Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan at 8. Vinnie Politan Investigates at 9. 9 o'clock, we're doing an interesting show looking at teen killers. Teen killers. We're going to look at some of these. Yeah, we're going to have some interesting guests to do some analysis. But that'll be an interesting investigation show. And
is it going to be teen killers pro or con? Can we go with that?
No, we're pretty much con, but not all of them were convicted. So it'll be interesting.
So
Al, where can folks find you?
Well, Vin, every Monday night, 8 to 9, I'm on with you, Closing Arguments on Court TV. You can get me on X, okay, at Legal Weapon 3. And let me just say this, hasta la vista, los Tangenistas.
There you go. And so, Jonesy, where can folks find the radio legend?
Well, I'm up and down the dial. The best way to find the schedule would be at glennjones.net. Glenn is one N like mommy intended it to be.
All right. And again, you can find me on your front row seat to justice, Court TV, Monday through a Friday, 8 to 9, Closing Arguments, 9 to 10. People are commenting on my Boston accent. 9 to 10, Vinnie Politan Investigates. That's it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tonight at 8. Say goodnight, Jonesy.
Good night, Jonesy.
Somebody say podcast, podcast. Tangent, tangent. Podcast, podcast. This is the Tangent Podcast. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for all your support. We are the Tangent True Crime Podcast. We'll see all of you in court. Somebody say Tangent.